When it comes to preparing for the board exam, atelectasis stands out as a high-yield topic that every aspiring respiratory therapist must thoroughly understand. This condition is not only clinically relevant in real-world patient care, but also frequently featured in exam scenarios. Atelectasis, defined as the partial or complete collapse of lung tissue, is a complication that can develop in a wide range of clinical situations. Whether it's due to post-operative hypoventilation, mucus plugging, or external compression of lung tissue, atelectasis interferes with effective gas exchange and can quickly become a serious problem if not recognized and addressed appropriately. For the board exam, you will often see atelectasis presented through chest radiographs, physical exam findings, and other patient data. The ability to interpret these clues and select the correct intervention is critical for exam questions where your decision-making skills are put to the test. However, before we proceed, I would greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Okay, first let's talk about the pathophysiology of atelectasis. When alveoli collapse, they are no longer able to participate in ventilation, yet blood flow to the area may continue. This results in a shunt-like effect where perfusion exceeds ventilation, leading to decreased oxygenation that does not improve significantly with increased inspired oxygen. Recognizing this concept helps you understand why increasing the FiO₂ alone won't fix the problem. Instead, re-expanding the collapsed alveoli is essential, often through lung expansion techniques such as incentive spirometry, PEP therapy, or intermittent positive pressure breathing, depending on the clinical scenario. One of the most common exam scenarios involves post-operative patients who develop atelectasis as a result of shallow breathing due to pain or sedation. When you're faced with a question involving a patient who has recently undergone abdominal or thoracic surgery and presents with decreased breath sounds, low oxygen saturation, and reduced chest wall movement, your first thought should be incentive spirometry. This is almost always the most appropriate initial therapy, especially when the patient is alert and cooperative. If incentive spirometry doesn't work, or if the patient is unable to perform it effectively, the next step is to escalate care. On the board exam, you must think like a clinician. If incentive spirometry isn't enough, you move up to PEP therapy or IPPB. Each step corresponds with a higher level of support, and your job is to determine when it's time to escalate therapy. Another frequent topic is recognizing atelectasis on a chest X-ray. The most classic radiographic finding is an area of increased opacity, or whiteness, where air is no longer present in the alveoli. But more important than the opacity itself is understanding the secondary signs that confirm volume loss. Tracheal deviation toward the affected side, elevation of the hemidiaphragm, and crowding of the ribs are all radiographic clues that point to atelectasis. One of the most valuable tips for the exam is to contrast this with conditions like a pneumothorax, where volume loss increases and pushes the trachea away. Remembering this directional difference can help you quickly rule in or out atelectasis when you're under time pressure on the exam. In ventilated patients, the development of atelectasis can be more subtle. On the exam, you may be given information like increasing peak inspiratory pressures and plateau pressures, suggesting reduced lung compliance. If this change is accompanied by decreased breath sounds and poor chest movement, suspect atelectasis and investigate further. The ventilator waveform may also provide additional hints, and if the cause is found to be mucus plugging, which is another favorite exam trigger, your initial action should be suctioning. If suctioning fails or is insufficient, bronchoscopy may be the next appropriate intervention. This clinical reasoning pathway involves identifying the problem, attempting a basic solution, and escalating if needed. This is a core strategy to apply across the board exam. It's also essential to understand that not all patients are candidates for every lung expansion modality. For example, CPAP can be helpful in preventing alveolar collapse by maintaining positive pressure during expiration, but it's not suitable for everyone. Patients who are excessively sedated, uncooperative, or unable to maintain their airway should not be placed on CPAP. Instead, more aggressive or invasive strategies may be necessary. The board exam tests this judgment by presenting you with subtle patient cues, such as mental status, respiratory rate, and ABG results, that indicate whether a therapy is appropriate or contraindicated. In neonatal scenarios, atelectasis is often linked to surfactant deficiency, particularly in premature infants with infant respiratory distress syndrome. These cases often feature X-ray findings such as a ground glass appearance and symptoms like nasal flaring and intercostal retractions. On the board exam, the correct response may be to initiate CPAP in the delivery room or to administer exogenous surfactant to help open the alveoli. These treatments are life-saving, and understanding when and how to use them will earn you valuable points on the exam. You should also be prepared to identify and manage the underlying causes of atelectasis. Simply addressing the collapse isn't enough. The exam will challenge you to consider the full clinical picture. If the cause is pain after surgery, recommending better pain control is a valid and often necessary step. If the patient has aspirated a foreign body leading to sudden unilateral atelectasis, bronchoscopy might be required to remove the obstruction. This level of clinical thinking, where you not only identify the problem but understand and resolve its root cause, is exactly what the MBRC wants to see. Another important tip is to always reassess your intervention. For example, if you implement a therapy like incentive spirometry, you will need to follow up and ask yourself the following. Did the patient's breath sounds improve? Did their oxygen saturation go up? Did the chest rise become more symmetrical? If so, you may continue with the current plan. But if not, then it may be time to escalate. Don't forget to take these follow-up opportunities seriously, as the exam questions are designed to test your ability to monitor outcomes and make decisions based on patient progress. A less common but critical exam trap involves endotracheal tube placement. If a patient develops sudden unilateral atelectasis shortly after intubation, your first thought should be right mainstem intubation. Because of the anatomy of the tracheobronchial tree, the right mainstem bronchus is more vertical and wider, making it more likely to be inadvertently intubated. This results in ventilation of only the right lung while the left lung collapses. If you see decreased breath sounds on the left and asymmetric chest rise, you should suspect this immediately. The fix is straightforward. Simply withdraw the endotracheal tube slightly and reassess for bilateral breath sounds. This is a classic board exam question, and knowing it can help you grab some quick, easy points. Also, remember that atelectasis can be gradual or sudden. A slow progressive collapse may not present as dramatically, but on the exam, you'll be given signs like gradually worsening oxygenation, decreasing lung volumes on imaging, or a patient who's increasingly lethargic due to poor ventilation. Sudden collapse, on the other hand, may be more dramatic and linked to events like mucus plugging, extubation, or even foreign body aspiration. Your response should match the urgency of the presentation. Acting promptly in urgent scenarios is crucial for respiratory therapists throughout their careers, as well as during scenarios presented in the exam questions. One final point to consider is that atelectasis is not always obvious. Sometimes it can coexist with other conditions like pneumonia or pleural effusion, making the diagnosis trickier. When interpreting imaging or patient data, pay attention to the language that hints at collapse, such as volume loss, mediastinal shift, or elevated hemidiaphragm. These subtle clues are there to guide you, and spotting them can separate a correct answer from a wrong one. Context is everything, and the board exam rewards those who can connect the dots under pressure. To prepare effectively, make sure you're reviewing real patient scenarios, practicing radiograph interpretation, and learning how to compare and contrast therapeutic options. Use resources like our practice exam and focused video reviews that reinforce the step-by-step logic you'll need on exam day. Atelectasis is a perfect example of a board exam topic that blends textbook knowledge with clinical application. And the more you practice thinking through these scenarios, the better your performance will be when it counts. So as you can see, mastering atelectasis for the board exam involves more than just memorizing definitions. It requires a firm understanding of lung mechanics, radiographic interpretation, patient assessment, and appropriate therapeutic interventions. Knowing how to recognize the signs, choose the right therapy, escalate when needed, and reassess your patient is at the core of good respiratory care. And this is exactly what the MBRC wants to see in its credentialed respiratory therapist. By practicing these concepts and reinforcing your decision-making skills, you'll be fully prepared to tackle any atelectasis-related question with confidence, both on the exam and in your clinical practice. We've already helped thousands of students pass the board exam, and if you're looking for the same result, check out some of our premium resources, which I have provided links to below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best on your journey to becoming a registered respiratory therapist. Have a nice day, and thanks again for watching.